This is a Campaign 10 Candidate Forum.
Good evening. Welcome to the Campaign 10 U.S. Senate Candidate Forum. I'm Roger Cornish. The primary election is 3 weeks away. Tonight we'll talk with 3 Republican candidates. The candidate, Robert Londerholm, told us he chose not to participate. So the candidates with us here today are Congressman Todd Tiahrt, Mr. Tom Little, and Congressman Jerry Moran. The candidates are all vying for the seat vacated by Senator Sam Brownback, who's running for Kansas governor. This forum will be broadcast all across the state through our co-sponsors, KCTV Channel 5 in Kansas City, KTKA 49 in Topeka, and Sunflower Cable in Lawrence. I'll be asking several questions of the candidates, many of them submitted by our viewers. But first, each candidate has an opening statement to give. We drew numbers at random to determine the order. We begin with Congressman Tiahrt.
Thank you, Roger. I want to thank Channel 12 and Roger Cornish for sponsoring tonight's debate. Kansans have a very important decision to make on August 3rd, whether they will be represented by an effective conservative or whether they'll be represented by somebody who has compromised on our shared conservative values. I have a strong 5-point plan to get our economy growing once again, building it from the ground up. The first point is tax relief. I know that if we can't have tax relief, we will not be able to get things spurred again. Unlike my colleague, Congressman Moran, I have never voted for a tax increase, and he has voted for 12 tax increases, including voted against a permanent repeal of the death taxes. You know, running for the Senate has been very much fun. I've traveled this beautiful state and met some wonderful people, and I'm looking forward to debate. Back to you, Roger.
All right, thank you very much. And now an opening statement from Mr. Tom Little. Thank you, Mr. Little. And now an opening statement from Congressman Jerry Moran.
Roger, good evening. Thank you to KWCH, and I appreciate our viewers this evening joining us for this forum. It's especially appropriate as this election draws so close, 3 weeks from tonight. The encouraging thing is that as I've traveled Kansas, there are so many Kansans who care about the future of our country, and so many people are engaging in this election because they believe they have a responsibility to return this country to some sense of fiscal responsibility, to establish core values back into the federal government, and the direction that Washington, D.C. is going today is absolutely the wrong direction, not only for our country today, but even more importantly, for the future of our children and grandchildren. So I look forward to the conversation we'll have tonight and hope that we can eliminate the ideas that all of us have that would benefit Kansas and our country.
All right, thank you, Congressman. Now it's time for the question and answer portion of this forum. Again, we drew numbers to determine the order. The first person has 40 seconds to answer the question. The other candidates will each have 25 seconds to rebut. The first question goes to Congressman Tiahrt. President Obama wants to extend unemployment benefits, but is being blocked by the Republican Party. With all the laid-off aircraft workers, how will you vote on an extension to unemployment benefits and why?
Well, if we want to get the economy going again, we can't just continue to try to extend unemployment benefits without making some significant changes to get the economy spurred. First, we need tax relief, we need regulatory reform. We also need to make sure that we have moving the healthcare system back to the private sector, and we need energy security and litigation reform. If we just keep feeding the unemployment without making these changes, we won't get the economy going again. And people really don't want unemployment benefits. What they do want is a job. So the best thing we can do for workers today is get them back to work. And that's why I've supported tax relief and have been very disappointed when my colleague Jerry Moran has voted for higher taxes, because I think that continues to slow our economy down.
Thank you. And now the same question on unemployment benefits to Mr. Little.
So let's get rid of the illegals.
All right, thank you, Mr. Little. Now the same subject for Congressman Jerry Moran.
Roger, clearly there are Kansans who are hurting as a result of unemployment, and especially here in the Wichita area with the aircraft industry. But the reality is our country is broke. We are financially bankrupt, and it's important that we recognize that in making our decisions. Only if unemployment benefits are paid for by reduction in spending someplace else can we support extension of those unemployment benefits. And really the truth is, it is job creation that we have to pursue.
Thank you. Our second question regarding the economic stimulus package. It was meant to create and maintain jobs. Do you think it was successful? And if not, what would you have done differently? We begin this answer with Mr. Little. Same time now for Congressman Jerry Moran.
Well, I strongly opposed the stimulus package, and in fact am one of 17 members of the House of Representatives to vote against every bailout, every stimulus package. You cannot borrow or spend your way to prosperity. We know that. And yet this is an administration of Congress led by President Obama and by Speaker Pelosi that believes that can be done. We have jobs that have been created under the so-called stimulus package have been government employment, and we need to create private sector jobs. And that comes with changing our tax code, encouraging investment in job creation activities, and making certain that our future is bright, not by spending money we don't have.
Thank you, Congressman. Now, a 25-second rebuttal from Congressman Todd Tiahrt.
Well, I oppose the stimulus bill. I think it's a bad policy and bad politics. What we need to do is my 5-point plan to get the economy growing from the ground up. Mr. Litter has a point, though. We have illegal immigrants here. That's why I've opposed amnesty and have voted against amnesty, unlike my colleague Jerry Moran, who has voted for amnesty. So it's very important that we make sure that we account for who's here, but you got to build the fence first. That's why I was very disappointed when Congressman Moran voted against building the fence. So we've got to get America back to work. We do it by doing this 5-point plan.
Thank you. Time's up. And we're switching gears now. Several viewers wanted us to ask a question about this following issue. A big part of the political machine is lifetime politicians. What is your position on term limits? This question, we begin first with Congressman Moran.
Well, let me first express my disappointment in Congressman Tiahrt's continual response to any question asked by being an attack upon me. And I hope we have the opportunity to rebut the suggestion that I vote for tax increases. I voted more than 200 times to lower taxes. I voted for a state tax repeal and certainly didn't vote not to build the fence. So Congressman Tiahrt, once again, in a Washington, D.C. fashion, is telling stories that simply aren't true in an attempt to persuade the audience something different than reality. I'm a supporter of term limits, believe that they can change and improve the nature of our political system, have voted for term limits, and think that it's something that must be pursued in the future. Career politics is very damaging to the country.
All right, thank you very much. Our next rebuttal comes from Congressman Todd Tiahrt.
Well, I'm the only one at the debate tonight that's actually voted for term limits. But I think it's important that people understand that when we talk about someone's voting record, it's a matter of public record. It's a matter of history. So when I talk about Congressman Moran's record, I know it makes him uncomfortable, but it's not a character assassination like Congressman Moran has done when he said that I was despicable and slimy. That's low politics, and Kansans deserve better.
All right, thank you, Congressman. And the last on the subject comes from Mr. Tom Little. Thank you very much. We begin our next question with Congressman Tiahrt. A few viewers wanted to know, if you're elected to the U.S. Senate, and this is their question, will you try to work with the current administration, or will you continue to block any and all legislation proposed by the president?
Well, I will work with the president if they finally come around to the right way of thinking. Right now, they have bent over backwards to outsource our national security to the French for an air refueling tanker. They have raised our taxes. They've borrowed money that we don't have for programs we don't need. So I would like to find some common ground. But the takeover of the healthcare system is not part of it. Neither is their plans for the economy. I'm looking forward to when they'll come around to some good conservative values that will rebuild the economy, will keep our national security built right here in America, and make sure that we have some strong future for our kids so our kids can start a good business or get a good job.
Thank you, Congressman. And the first rebuttal to the question about cooperating with the White House goes to Mr. Tom Little. And again, the final rebuttal to Congressman Jerry Moran about the question on cooperation or non-cooperation with the White House.
Well, Roger, unfortunately, we have a very liberal president and one who is very arrogant, is certain of his beliefs for the future of America, and one that is not listening to the American people. I think that was a message that we saw in the response to so-called health care reform. Americans time and time again tried to tell the Congress, led by Speaker Pelosi and by the President Obama, that this is not what they believe is good for the country. And if the President had a good idea, I'd be supportive of it. But I have voted against all the proposals that he thought were so important for the country.
All right, thank you. We will take a short break now. When we come back, more of your questions and your answers. Stay with us.